If your high-speed board is failing at the channel analysis level, even though the traces are really good and the connections look perfect, then your vias might be the problem. At high speeds and short rise times, vias are more than vertical connections through the PCB. Vias are discontinuities for the electromagnetic wave. If you don't manage them well, your channel signals may fail even though the connections and the PCB layout looks correct. I'm Kirsch Mackey, an electrical and electronics engineering consultant. I'm going to explain the top 5 reasons why vias can cause your high-speed signals to fail. Starting with mistake number 5. Bad antipad geometry. The antipad is the clearance in the reference plane around the via. Large or asymmetric antipads create impedance discontinuities, and those impedance discontinuities create signal reflections. The fix is to size your antipads against your impedance target, and also keep them symmetrical amongst your differential pair vias. Having the right pad stacks is not sufficient. You need to make sure the entire via structure is the correct size, antipad size, and signal quality. Mistake number 4, using the wrong via type for the data rate or rise time through that signal. Through-hole vias have the longest barrels and the largest parasitics. At gigabit level data rates, they create stubs and resonances that will completely ruin your signal. The fix is to choose the via type based on the rise time of the signal going through your trace. Another fix is to use back drilling on any through-hole vias to shorten or eliminate those stubs. For the cleanest stubs, another fix is to use blind or buried vias. You can even use micro vias for the lowest inductance and lowest capacitance. However, for blind buried micro vias, you want to plan for those during the stack up phase, not doing routing as an afterthought. If it's an afterthought and not planned out properly, you can drive your board costs up by 30 to 100%. I've made that mistake before, so don't make that same mistake. So that's mistake number 4. The next one though catches almost every engineer by surprise. Now we talked about using the right via type for your data rate, signal rise time. But what if you don't have a high-speed board? Well, that doesn't mean you get away scot-free. Mistake number 3 is ignoring your via stub resonance, even if you don't have a high-speed PCB. For lower speed boards, so to speak, you may be using through-hole vias. An unused barrel part of your through-hole via acts like a stub. A lot of chips nowadays have really short rise times, and if you don't intentionally slow those rise times for the chip signals, even at low frequencies, they can cause resonance and EMI effects that you don't want on your PCB. The through-hole via's barrel will radiate some of that signal, and a 60mm stub on FR4 starts to become a problem at even just a few gigabits per second. The fix is to evaluate your stub length against your edge rate of the signals coming off of your chips, regardless of clock frequency. If the stub is too long for your rise time, you'll need to remove it. Back drilling is usually the cheapest way. Mistake number 2, asymmetric differential pair vias. Differential pairs depend on balance through the entire via structure, not just the traces. When the two vias on a differential pair have different antipads or asymmetric ground via placement, you create a phase mismatch between the two signals. That phase mismatch produces common mode voltage, and the common mode voltage radiates as EMI. The fix is to keep your differential pair vias symmetric. Use the same antipad geometry on both legs. Use equidistant spacing for those vias and their antipads. Also, when you put your ground return via, make sure they show up at the same angle on the opposing sides. This keeps the electromagnetic field and waves equally coupled across both legs of the pair. Now, I've saved the most common but most detrimental mistake for the last. Mistake number 1 is introducing a signal via, whether it's single-ended or differential pair, without including a return via. When a signal changes layers, its return current and fields need to find a low impedance path to their reference voltage, or reference 0 or ground. If you don't engineer a low impedance path to ground, it will find one on its own. The electromagnetic wave will spread out searching for ground. It will increase the loop area, increase the inductance and therefore the impedance, and generate EMI. The fix is to place a ground via adjacent to every layer transition via, so you need to route them in pairs. NVIDIA's Jetson AGX Orin carrier board does this perfectly. Every signal via transition has a ground via right next to it. This keeps the electromagnetic wave from spreading to other structures. While skipping this step can cause EMI problems for any board, it's especially detrimental if you don't do this on your high-speed PCBs. The truth is, vias were actually never electrically invisible. We just got away with a lot of stuff until we couldn't get away with it anymore. Every via transition needs three things: a signal path, a return path, and a reason for existing. Plan all three of these, or the EMC chamber will have to find out for you. I will see you in the next video.